What is happening, y'all? Cowboy here, and welcome to my Sage build for Salt and Sacrifice. Now, I'm gonna have 3 different build videos for this game, not because there's only 3 playstyles, but because Mage, Strength, and Dex are the 3 primary playstyles that I've found myself going towards. And first up is gonna be Sage. Sage obviously focuses around Arcana and Forbidden Glyphs. Super fun to play, in my opinion. If you're playing this game, you gotta try out a Sage at least once because you get access to all of the crazy spells that people have. You know, it's a really fun class. So anyway, let's jump on into it. We're going to talk about the level, where I would suggest hitting in the trees, primary weapons, all that stuff. And then we're going to do a mage hunt, and while we're doing it, we'll also be queued up to try and get some invasions. So to start going on over into the trees, I'm like 121 right now. The game actually has some pretty decent scaling in. I'm not sure if this game is gonna have a meta, but I mean, I already feel like my build is nice and put together. So, you know, just go to whatever. I'm like around 100, 120, the build started to feel like kind of in the final stages. But to take a look at the tree, for a Sage build, there are 3 main points you're gonna want. The one is gonna be your Banes. All of your Forbidden Glyphs, getting Bane Reader up to 5, you're absolutely going to want this, because you're going to have access to some of the best glyphs in the game playing as a Sage. So you're definitely going to want to go all the way down this tree for sure. Besides that, moving on over to here, we have Staves. Staves give us bonus points of Arcana, which is, you know, just synergistic with everything else we're doing. On top of that, they're going to have access to all of the crazy glyphs that we want to use, so that one's a no-brainer. And then as for a ranged weapon, I would recommend going for Channeler, because we get Resolve as the auxiliary stat for this, which is going to boost up our focus stat and give us more to cast with. Besides that, I like to go for light armor on here because I really pumped up Arcana. My Arcana is all the way up to 70, as you can see. And we'll talk more about stats in a second. But I went class 5 light armor, and then as for a backup weapon, I went up to class 3 on Scythe. There's a decent Scythe as well as a decent whip that you could go for as a backup weapon on a Sage build, but I just found the Scythe to be more enjoyable. So talking more about the stats in particular, kind of what you want to go for with a build like this. Resolve, you're going to want a decent chunk in. At 50 focus, I feel like that is a pretty healthy amount. I can really burn through all of my stuff, and I'm not as concerned with constantly having to use flasks. Besides that, you're going to want enough endurance to make sure you have a light roll. That is the yellow bag icon next to where it says carry. In this particular case, with the gear I have, which is the Diablomancer's gear, I needed 26 endurance to hit that light roll threshold, which is nice. Arcana, I took all the way up to 70, and then anything beyond that, I'm putting into Vitality. Now, if you wanted to keep leveling something like this, I mean, there's no reason you couldn't take Arcana all the way up to max, Resolve up to max, Vitality up to max. I mean, you could even go for Heavy Armor eventually, but this is kind of a general idea of what you should be working towards as you're playing a class like this. So jumping on in, the bigger part of a build in Salt and Sacrifice is of course the gear. So let's jump right in and talk about the gear. First up, the Diabolical Light Gear. The Diabolical Light Gear is just fantastic, to be honest. This has decent weight, so it's a little bit on the heavier side for light armor, but it has very nice defense. As you can see, this is maxed out. We're almost up at 200 defense on physical, and then we have really nice fire defense. We suffer a bit on the cold, poison, and light fronts, but we have decent dark. And honestly, in this game, I felt like this was a nice split. In general, these were pretty high resistances, and on top of that, this armor does look pretty slick, so I was a big fan of it. Just personal preference there. As for our rings, there's a couple different ones you could go with here. I really like stamina regeneration, because the last thing I want playing a Sage is getting caught out, because I am squishier, and we also use stamina for casting. This isn't a huge boost, but it does get your stamina coming back roughly about half a second faster, and you know, especially in PvP, sometimes half a second is the difference between life and death. So I'm a big fan of that in this case. The Mind Stone ring I like a lot. This is a very big boost at 10 focus. Now, if I like really started to dump a ton of stuff into Resolve, this would start to lose value. But as it stands now, I mean, that's a 25% increase in my focus, and that's huge. So, big fan of the Mind Stone ring. I know they just patched the Lumistone ring so that your blue flasks restore more. I haven't actually tried that yet, but that might be a decent alternative. Personally, I would just rather have more focus on deck. As always, if you're farming, Creeping Ring 100%. This is from the fungal guy. But that's, I mean, this is going to be what you want to help get all the stuff to put the build together. Moving on down real fast, just to briefly touch on artifacts. I mean, obviously this is just pure RNG. I like to try and get health and stamina. If I can get focus too, that's great. Over here, Melee damage is going to be nice. Damage versus Inquisitors is going to be nice if you're doing PvP. Probably the biggest one to look out for is if you can get runic arts damage on your utility artifact, because that's going to increase the damage of all of your casted spells. So that's obviously awesome to pick up. Besides that, as for a ranged weapon, there are two that I really want to point out, the Codex Rod and the Mind Spike Rod. The Codex Rod is going to be best in slot in terms of just raw damage potential. It's up at 146. And this thing hits really hard. You pop somebody with that, that's going to hurt. But notice how tight the hitbox is on that. I'm even just slightly above that thing's head. You can see like the runes are grazing its head, but I'm not hitting. So as opposed to that, the Mind Spike Rod, on the other hand, this has a much larger hitbox. You can see these would just straight up miss with the other one. So it's definitely going to be preference here. If you're a little bit sloppier on your shots, I think Mind Spike is going to be worth using just because you're a lot less likely to miss with this as opposed to Codex. If you're confident in your ability to snipe a target, Codex was the winner, hands down. Besides that, Leather Amulet, this is a really solid choice. To be honest, like I tried a couple different amulets and this is just like, that's nice. It's about a 10% boost right there in attack power. So I mean, 10% across the board, that's nothing to scoff at. I mean, if you want to go for a more auxiliary effect, something like, you know, restore FP on perfect block or FP on kills, that's your choice. But I do a lot of PvP with this guy, and I'm all about that damage, so Leather Amulet's the clear winner there. Over here, Pointed Riddle. Also a really, really nice choice. This gives you roughly a 15% increase to all your runic arts, so as a mage build that's constantly casting glyphs, kind of a no-brainer. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. We are talking about the staves. Now, first up, we have the Staff of Scrolls. That's Glyph Barrage, Glyph Vortex, and Glyph Rain. Now, this did recently get nerfed, and for good reason. It was absolutely unstoppable in PvE, and it was pretty dirty in PvP as well. But it's still very powerful, and from a PvE perspective, still one of the most powerful staves in the game. So our initial barrage right there, that's going to send out a bunch of little papers that'll fly at a target. When they connect, as you can see, 48 damage a pop. So against mages or against large bosses, this is a big nuke. Going for the rain I would only use against your biggest targets, but that's going to hit even harder at 62 per pop. And the last one we have is the Glyph, and this one tracks in on your target, and it's like a just rapid fire. And you can see those are hitting for 13 per pop. So there's a lot of damage coming out here, and even though they did add a cooldown to this, and like I said, that was 100% needed. If you've seen the Let's Play, there were certain bosses where I was just like, brr, delete, like, so yeah, it had to get nerfed. But even then, I mean, you could just boom, 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 toss out one ranged attack, and then you're back to rotating through those. So even though there's been a nerf, if you want to rotate through all of your spells, you can still do that and do an immense amount of damage with this thing. It is not to be underestimated. Now, keep in mind for PvP, cooldowns are usually a little bit iffy. So while this is great for PvE, because you can set yourself up, in PvP, I would instead recommend the Mind Spike Staff. Now, this thing is honestly just insane in PvP. I cannot stress this enough. It's not listed anywhere on these abilities, but one of the really nice things about this is when you connect with the target, you reverse their controls temporarily. So when I hit with this, oh, it's not showing it right now. Let me try on this guy. You see that little effect where you saw the little swirlies? If you connect to somebody and you see that go off, you've just reversed their controls. So when they try to go left, they're going to the right. When they try to go right, they're going to the left. In PvP, that alone is crazy. Because you'll catch people and then they're trying to run away, but instead they're running back at you and you're blasting them more. Also, no cooldown on that, so you're just blasting away with it. As for the middle one, the circular one, this one's nice to put up something and roll into people, like if they're getting too close in melee. Both of these, by the way, have knockback properties, so you can blast people clean off cliffs with them. The last one is a little bit decent just for zone control. You're going to put out these little lasers, and anybody that touches them, as you can see, 48 damage a pop, they're going to pulse. And I really like to throw that one out if I'm trying to generate space. If I have people that are chasing me down and I'm like, I need to get these guys away from me, I'll throw one of those out and then I'll back up. And most people are going to see it and they're going to be hesitant. If they try to go through it, toss out one of those, and you can usually handle yourself pretty well just doing that. Now, besides that, as I mentioned, I do like to carry an auxiliary weapon, in this case, the Scythe. Now, the main reason for the Scythe is one of its abilities that we have. The first two, are okay. They're more going to be PvE things, but just to show them. So we have the skulls, nice little chase potential. The damage isn't really anything all that crazy. The big skull is going to be stationary. This can do some decent damage if you have people like pinched into a corner or something, but it's going to be hard to get off. The real seller here are the guillotine blades. Boom! They are going to travel along, and you can notice this. Watch this. If I'm at like a split here, where there's an area that's below me and an area that's above me, look at that. Look at the tracking on those. Those will catch people out a ton. And they do an air juggle, so they're going to knock people up. So another very good space maker. On top of that, the scythe is just a really good weapon. You have a big hitbox on this thing as you're coming on in. It's kind of similar to Katana in the way it has that startup. So keep that in mind. If you start up too late, you're going to go right past your target. You know, like if I'm trying to hit the target, that's already too late. I need to start my attack from like back at the table to get the running attack. But that does have launch properties, so you'll send people flying with it. And you can put out a lot of damage with the scythe. Like, especially when bigger weapons think they're going to trade against you, you'd be surprised. So besides that, let's talk about some other lower level stuff that I would recommend. Namely, my two personal favorites. Got to be Galvanic. Galvanic, we can spam this, has decent tracking, 24 pop. And on top of that, the lightning AoE, this does a lot of damage, 149. This bad boy, though, this comes from the rock guy, and this is fantastic in PvE. You toss out these little mushrooms, and you're getting 260 damage. Each of those is doing 52, so big hits. On top of that, Dying Field, I believe it's called. This one is decent in PvP because you can put it down, and it's just, you know, it's a zone control, and nobody wants to get poisoned. Poison obviously sucks. Of course, it also has antidote, so a little bit of utility there. Besides that, I think the ice stave is a decent early on choice. I use that for quite a bit, but honestly, Galvanic carried me. Galvanic carried me through the majority of the game. For only being a class 3 and being able to get this in the first zone, this is an incredibly powerful stave, and I 100% would suggest getting your hands on this as soon as possible. The last thing I want to touch on is the Stave of Force. Now, obviously, this is a class 5. It comes from one of the final mages we fight, but I'm not too big a fan of it. I think its abilities are too slow to really go off. We have one that'll summon up stuff on the ground, and it hits pretty hard, as you can see at 111. We have one that'll create a whole arc, and then they'll all go off doing damage. And the last one is the only one that I think is decent in PvP. It creates two separate things, and this will catch people off guard, because the first one will hit them and bounce them, and then the second one will launch them away. So it has some decent potential, but honestly, it's kind of slow. I mean, as you saw right there, that wasn't exactly hitting all that fast. So personally, I wouldn't recommend it. I would stick with the other ones I showed off. But I mean, given that it's like a tier, like a final tier one, I know people are going to be like, well, hey, what about that one? You know, is it good? I need to know. And honestly, I'm not a fan of it. I will say, however, the force weapons for other playstyles can be pretty crazy. So let's do. Well, the highest tier is a Luminancer or Pyro. Actually, I think both of these are light-based. Poison, light, dark. Yeah, we can probably just do the Luminancer. Why not? Let's go after him. Actually, Falling Star. I think I know where this is at. Yeah, it's here. Okay. He's going to be up at the top, and that's fine. Let me go ahead and pop my Page of Curses. And we're just going to do a quick hunt here. Just kind of show off what a build like this is capable of. And, you know, while we do that, hopefully we get some invasions to pop. Stop hitting me, please. Oh my god. Am I going to get stun locked to death? No, I'm not. Stop it. Usually pretty good invasions in this area. The rate we're going, we're not going to even get an invasion by the time I'm up to the boss. Oh, we do have to chase it around a bit, so. gone. Just blast its ass. Oh god, no. Oh, thank. That was a little close. Glad that was still up. Let's go ahead and get our thingy here. Alright, now we got a nice checkpoint. And now we're gonna do some damage to this guy. Yeah, he's not gonna take enough damage. Ow. What's up there? Oh god, the lasers came out. It's kind of good to show this because this guy is like basically a counter to me. Looks like they may have actually given the modifier damage against bosses with this too. Sucks a little bit. No! Oh god. Oh. These things always get me, man. Oh, whoa, 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 boys, listen, one at a time, please. Oh, God. Oh, had that other dude breathing down my neck, couldn't really go behind. Tell you what, though, some of these late game mage hunts, like, once we can get the mage alone, it's over. But man, when you're trying to chase him on down, and then there's another mage that's like right there on top of you. You're like, oh god, please, not like this. Oh no. And down it goes. And what's crazy is that was like post nerf damage. That was the kind, like, that's insane to me that this is after the nerf. We're still doing that much damage with it. And that's also a great example of how I was talking about. I think it's better to have just more FP to work with than worry about the restoration. Because right there, I had enough juice in the tank to, like, I think I did one heal that was like pre-fight. Oh no. Of course they're going to get me. Whatever. It's not like I really need the salt anyway. We're just going to jump down and head on back and do some PvP. Go back to camp. And we'll try and queue up for PvP at the actual, the big spawn-in. See, hopefully we can find somebody a little bit faster over there. I mean, if not, it's like, you know, I have an entire stream of Sage PvP on the channel, so wanted to see what it does. There's plenty of footage. We're gonna put you on, and we're gonna put the sight on. Now, you could certainly use the Stave of Scrolls for PvP, but it's going to be a little bit iffier just because of cooldowns. Like I said, the last thing you want is a big cooldown, and even if you're spamming all three of your abilities, there's still a chance that you could end up getting caught, you know, just because PvP is a lot faster moving and whatnot. But you know what? I'll do one. I'll do one with it just to kind of show off its potential in PvP. But with the cooldown implementation, I definitely think it's more of a PvE weapon because, you know, on a large target, rotating between those abilities is still going to work out. Whereas in PvP, it's not so much. That's assuming we can even get invasion. There we go. Thank God for chaos. Nope, it's going to fail to connect. Son of a bitch. Like how I had a more stable connection to the guy that's clearly not in the US. Alright, so this is going to be an underground. I'm just going to stick. This is not the place for Staff of Scrolls. Staff of Scrolls, I need to be in a nice open area. Don't my cooperator already. Oh boy. Oh. See, he thought he was jumping back the other direction. Oh, that's another one down. Watch this is gonna snipe one of them. One of them's dead. Okay. Just snipe that dude completely off screen. Oh, it took me out because I had killed two already. Damn. But yeah, that's you know, pretty much a perfect example of how deadly the Mind Staff is going to be. Like right there, I blasted that one dude, and then he ran towards me and tried to heal. And you know, it wasn't that he was just like an idiot or anything. It's that he saw me and instinctively tried to run away and hit that heal button, and that wasn't going to work because I had already queued up my stuff. I wonder what they're fighting. I hear them. What's this? Like you can't spam it anymore. That one's dead. Oh, that's the host right there. Okay. Load up. What? Oh, God, the summon reached the boss? I didn't even know the summon could do that. Oh, my God. Saw one above. Oh. Going for the ice. You don't see that a lot. Does have good tracking. Oh, God. I popped him, though. Oh. One's down. The host is dead. Oh my god, just getting some blue haze at like the last minute. Like, I need something. I failed my mission. For the record, like the ice one, it's not that it's bad. The problem is that if you're fighting anything else besides a person, that ice stave, it'll just completely, like, it can whiff, basically. Oh boy. Oh, wrong thing, wrong thing. Back. Back your ass up. Alright, now is where the fun begins. He's got to chase me a little. Come on, chase me. Ooh, oh, that hurt a lot, actually. One of them got popped pretty hard there. I'm gonna have to use my gravity to my advantage here. Oh, no. Shaw, damn. Not bad for a 1v3. I think they're going for the... Oh man, that dude did not see me coming. I don't know where your buddy was, but your ass is dead. You just got blasted. Alright, here we go. This looks like a proper final invasion. Back. Oh, I gotta go. Gotta go down. Oh god, no. Hang on, I gotta be real smart about approaching this or I'm gonna get blown away. If I can come up from behind them and blast them off the cliff, might be game over. They went up. One of them got popped. Another one got popped. Goodbye. You were gone for sure. Oh, he's probably dead. Yep, he's dead. Where's the host? And boom! That is gonna wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Hit him with the point down. Hit him with the point down. And then you gotta pop. No, not the bow. Not the bow. You gotta pop the squat. Yeah, there we go. Pop the squat. Oh, man. What a phenomenal final invasion. So anyway, that is going to wrap things up for this one. Yeah, like I said, man, the mind stave is nuts for PvP. But yeah, we'll be doing a dex build. That'll be pretty fun to watch. Won't have as many crazy spell shenanigans, but more just killing people off right, kicking them off cliffs, all kinds of fun stuff. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch y'all next time.